There we go. Okey-dokey. Says I'm offline. I don't believe I am. Hey, there we go. And there is the one random viewer. Okay, so what were we doing? I think I've still messed up my terminal. I don't think the Vim's quite right yet, but the test, the linting wasn't working anyway, so I don't think it really matters. Let's go into here and into here and generation rules, right. Oh, this is interesting. I did not realise I'd done that. Right, and this is different to what we had before. We did have it working as a test. Okay, so if we write this, we should be able to get diff. And that just tells me that. Right, topological value functions. Structure priority, high level structural elements. Wait a second. Test generation rules. Why have we got the greedy mesh stuff? And what? Oh, this is not. T generation. Which. Okay, we can leave that. T generation, this is instead test generation rules. And we have generation rules here. I used to have something which told me what the difference was. I think I like this one more. So here we're going to do a tree, and then T generation we have describe, and then it, and then what was the unexpected identifier and test generation rules. Yes, that's fine. Test generation rules isn't going to work because we would need to do something like this for it to work. I wonder if there are other issues. I wonder if, like, having the music even slightly makes it not recommend me to people. It doesn't actually affect me, so I could just turn that off. And I wonder if I've already been flagged. Maybe, I don't know. Who knows how that system works. Describe the tree. It should occur for, and then function where we assert equal that tree of now I need two numbers that multiplied together when divided by 30 make 37. 37 and 1. Well, they don't have to make 37, I mean it could just be 7 and 1, 1 and 7. Can we just mocha testing true. Mocha set true. Set equal. Do npm assert. Oh, okay, so we can assert okay. I wonder if there is equally an assert false. Don't know. Maybe we just compare it to 0 if it's false. So I want that to be true. We want 1 and 37 to be true. We want... Why did we go with 30? That to be true. We want that to be true. To be fair, that is my description of a tree. We did have another import. What was that? I think that was just from... Yeah, that was from Greedy Mesh, so that wasn't useful. Import tree from generation. to export. It is indeed passing. Okay, that's good to know. So covering tree, and then we've got underground. Now, how does this underground work? The idea here being if the terrain is less than 5, it fills with water up to 4. Then we've got place tree. Well, that's not really what we wanted to do, was it? Apply terrain generation rule. Structures. We do underground, and we're using safe set, so what is this supposed to take? Supposed to take. No, that's the X off, so cell. I guess underground was going to take a cell as well. Then we've got this safe set function. I'm thinking the structure of how we do chunk generation might be wrong, because at the moment we're looping through all of the chunk. Let me get this open on the tab. Alright, what is that imported by? That is imported by parent on that. Parent chunk. Parent chunk does apply generation rule. For Z and an X. No, I don't. Oh no, that's set up height map. No, it does. It's applying terrain generation rule inside the height map. So what I'm thinking is, can we do this more efficiently? Can we have some kind of, see if I can get a whiteboard. Online whiteboard. Hey, right. So we have some kind of terrain that we want to generate, and we want to go like we've got some height map. Now at the moment we're doing along the X and Z, and we're saying along X and Z, let's like work out where we are. We have a height for that, and we say, oh yeah, this block has a value. The others, because the others by default have 0. So default, which is air. So what we don't want is like all of this to be air, because then I've done that before, and when you dig through, then you've got air, and it's not rerunning the generation when you click through. And also so much of the But going back on this. This does work still. But I think because we return after we set anyway, it makes sense just for these to return leaves. And otherwise return air. Although, why is the trunk not in there? Do we have... So we have the tree. This is not... I want a better name for this. Underground. This is... Assessing the underground cells. So we're taking in cell, and we want height as well. We let the tile equal water. If the height is above 5, we've got grass, we've got dirt. Otherwise we do the geology. And here we're not caching this, which means we have to go through this loop often 10 times to get to where we want to be. So we could do a better job of caching here. Here what we want to do is return tile. If the height is not above 5, then put sand. So when do we end up with water? Otherwise you end up with water. So we still need to do a better job of caching, but we now have an underground that we can test. this. The structural things of what they are, I need to update that, but for now I'm just going to do this so that I can type in water. That is, I want this to be equal to water. So it should be water if the height is below us. It should be sand if below 5, below height, and height is below 5. Height of 5 should end up with sand. Is it on the mark if the height is larger than 5? Yeah, so if it's 5, that should be the cutoff. Should not be sand below height, and height is above 5. So if we do 5, this should then be dirt. Didn't export. Oh, of course. Minus 15 instead of plus 14. Should be sand if below height and height is above 5. Should not be sand. Expected 14 was actually 15. What? That was actually grass. That makes sense, actually. I concur. Okay. Okay. Function to place the tree. Do we have T height? So underground. It's going to need to take the height and the cell. Oh, that's interesting. So the cell Y is definitely lower than the height. And that's why this water's here. So, yeah, fine. Although, to be fair, we could just do these in a priority order. Like, have... Although, does that mean that we are redoing work? Maybe. Let's stick for now with the underground being underground, and so not having water, and not having this. So I put a note that don't need to check, less than heights that cell less than height, because should not enter here if that isn't the case. Did we have water? We did. We shouldn't have that. Instead we should have y needs to be less. So if y is 0 here, it needs to be less. That's 0, let's have that. And just 1, and then we end up with sand. In fact, this can just be taken out altogether. Describing sea level. So we don't actually need this safe set, because we are more getting the cell, getting the type of this cell. So we've got the underground or the sea. Or tree. It looks like a frozen. Kind of have in a way. I wonder how much of the day I spend doing just like, ugh. I've reduced the amount of caffeine I have. I don't know if that's causing this dreadful, dreadful inability to work. Maybe it is. Right, I'm going to make a coffee. So I really need to make something that is a bit of a tutorial or a bit of a demo, a bit of a trailer for this game. And one of the things I want to do is play it whenever I'm having breaks in between streaming. So, I don't know, say a bit of toilet or something. And so what I'm showing you here is the game as it is of the beginning of November 2022. God, where did the last 2 years go? But this has a mixture of terrain that's been generated in the current version, terrain that's been stored from being generated in previous versions, and from those previous versions it's come from what was on the server before, and so people have made things. There is somewhere a house, but I can't find it, so I mean, let's quickly see if I can find the house. Although the search for the house could get quite boring quite quickly if this is being replayed and people having to, found it, I found the house, stuck in some water, but I found the house. Isn't the water pretty? Look, it's even sparkling. That is a house. This is made by Ralph, I think. Isn't that beautiful? There's a hole there, but look at that. That is what you can already do in the game. Right, I had my coffee. Flicking between an older and a new version of me. Yeah, so I gave blood on Friday, and then I went out drinking, and that is not a good idea. I keep panicking that, I've destroyed my brain. Anyway, no one's listening, James. So, I'm thinking, we have these checks. Would it be easier to, like, for example, we know that we're not underground or in the water, so this is an above ground structure. If we do else, if we're not underground and we're not overground, if we're not underground and we're not in the water, we must be an overground. And then what I want to do is say return the vegetation. Vegetation. We need the height, and we need so. And otherwise, I would say let's return air. And maybe there's a more efficient way of doing this. Maybe there's some short circuits, but otherwise we have do vegetation, place tree, vegetation, and cell, and then do something like this, but it doesn't need to be indented. What have I got with the indent? Right, so if the tree of where we are do the other things use real as well? Real, yeah. Wait, what? Real and cell, or maybe if real isn't used, I know real is used for let's pass in real. I think maybe I'm getting to the point where some form of object structure where we can use caching would be better here. I'm not sure. So I'm still having a pot of cafetiere, but I don't know. What did I used to have? Maybe two or more. No, I did used to have a lot. It's got to be that. I mean, it's only like what, 6:15, so. Place tree. So if tree, then height and is larger than 5. So it will already be larger than 5. What's that? If it is 5, put the sand. Okay. So I'm gonna rename tree. To tree hash. And then I'm gonna have tree hash, cat tie hash, and this is gonna be I'm quite happy with tree hash because that's what it is. So we've got tree hash and we've got the, so this is going to be, oh that's interesting. So do we use real for that but we don't use real for this? I'm sure I intended to. Cac tie hash real x real z mod 50 is 1. No, we don't need to deal with that. We just say if the cacti hash, then we've got the height of a cactus We know we're above ground, so we simply return the cactus. If we're in the line, turn the trunk. Then we have this thing where if tree hash, else if that. Points like this, I wonder, am I just staring thinking, or I'm not saying anything? But I was thinking something about, it's interesting because some thoughts you get are very easy to vocalize and you're kind of almost thinking as if you're thinking through words, and then some thoughts they're not. Some thoughts you're like, why does that say 3? It can't have only been, no, I've been doing way more than 3 minutes. What's going on with this? What does OBS Studio say I've been recording for? 44 minutes. I was going to say, there's no way I managed to do what I thought I managed to do in 3 minutes and have somebody watching for a bit and then them leave me and get over that and all of that. Okay, so that's the cactus. I'm not gonna lie, but these are this one certainly could be put in a ampersand, and then we're slightly less nested in our if statements. And then vegetation plants the tree. But the tree we go all around it, so there must be maybe the reason it didn't happen before was because we only placed a tree if we didn't already have a tree there. I mean, this for now is much better than what we've had. So we're going through, we're saying, oh, you know, if we're over ground, return the vegetation, otherwise return air. We've got some display face, which gives us something, but not really what I want. Send some maps into the shader. So it's worth noting this doesn't work. underground we've got either sand or grass, and I can't bother to do the other bit of the underground. The kilo map is something that allows us to get structures in play. So, the underground takes precedence. Everything's mutually exclusive at the moment. There's no competition. But the structures obviously take precedence. But we don't have river structures yet, or not at least on this sort of thing. So vague. So we try and get a structure. No, I want to do vegetation. Right, tree hash. Enough wood. Oh, I've actually called it trunk. Not explaining myself as to why invalid left-hand side assignment. Is that an equals where I meant to put a double equals? Where does it say it is? It's in... Doesn't say where it is though. Tell me where. Anybody else find coding just really painful? It's like drawing blood from a stone. In fact, I think it'd be easier to draw blood from a stone. I'm sure if I hit my head on the stone as many times as I have to hit my head against the screen, it'd just happen. Right. What is not working? Why is there unexpected... Something else I'm thinking of. Oh, I've got somebody on. Hello, hello. I am making a voxel game for the browser. It's online already. You can go and play it. It's called manicvoxels.com. It looks a bit. Let's go to manicvoxels.com and give you a bit of a demo. It looks like this. And yeah, so it's an MMO. So actually, MMO, kind of. It's multiplayer. If you were to go to the same site now, you would be able to see me, and we'd be in the same world. There, at the moment, you can place and remove blocks. So I'm gonna remove that block and put that there instead. And somebody's actually, it takes me a little while to find it, but there is a house somebody built. I think it's in this direction. But yeah, so what I'm currently working on is trying to get somewhere around here, the terrain generation. So I had at one point managed to get, oh look, there's somebody else there. So yeah, so there's like multiple people that are in the game. There is a house, I think it's out this way, that somebody made. So there's like cool stuff in here, but I wanted rivers. So at the moment we have like this terrain where if you traverse in one direction you can find mountains, and obviously there's like trees, and I managed to get it so that the trees span multiple chunks. But yeah, I mean, one of the things that is difficult is these rivers. So I have this this thing that I'm calling retrospective determinism, which is based off of a book that I read, which called something completely, relatively different. Retrospective. Oh, you can't jump. Try removing the block that you've landed on that's underneath you. That's sometimes the issue. It depends on the hardware you're using. It's shift. Is it shift click or click? Yeah, so it's shift click to remove the block that you're standing on, and then you should be able to move again, or like if you couldn't already move. I don't know. Try now. See if you can move. Is that better? There you go. You're free. So the location only updates every 0.3 of a second. So it's a little bit laggy because I haven't done like an interpolation in between. But yeah, if you can see where I am, like there's some houses over here that people built and stuff. This one in particular that was built by a mate. Yeah, the water doesn't flow yet, but yeah. So I mean. So yeah, so that's what I've got at the moment. And pressing C brings up like a composition window that doesn't work yet. That's in another branch. I'll kind of pause that for a second, and I'm gonna go back to that later. But yeah, so this is what I'm building, and what I'm currently working on in the context of that is the terrain generation and the world generation. So I have a height structure generation rule that's being passed into the supply generation rule function, and then based on what the sort of natural height of the land is, it then works out what to put there. So for a given cell, if the cell is below height, then we know it's underground, so I'm building out the underground function to better generate what the underground is. So at the moment, as you'll be able to see from the game, if you dig down, you have, if it's high enough, you'll have grass, then below that you will have dirt, below that you will have rock, and if you dig maybe 1,000 blocks deep, you will get to a different kind of rock, and if you do it another 1,000 blocks deep, then get to another different kind of rock, because one of the things that I've already managed to build into it is a concept of geology and geological layers. Only so far as there's different layers, but there are different layers and they vary. And if you go to different places in the world, different islands, then you actually end up with different minerals, if you will. I don't know if the terrain... Oh, it is, right. So, I mean, here is... it's shift click to mine. So this is the terrain. You can actually view the terrain. So this is actually online as well. And what this map shows you is the different geologies. So everything's covered in grass and dirt. But when you mine to rock, you get these different geologies. And this is based on the height map. So if I zoom out, you can see, I think the starting point is 0, 0. So if I 0, 0, this will put it up on the top left. So you start like here. So I move halfway. You start like in the middle here. So what this map actually also shows is the yeah, I did computer science with artificial intelligence. So this map gives you the geology, and then if I click here, it renders without the geology, and instead you've here got the temperate zones, and you can also see here like this mesh of different blue bits among other colored squares. The blue bits are rivers, or at least they're going to be when I can get them back. I did get that in, and it then messed it up. The squares are settlements, and the settlements are of different sizes, and so you've got like these different settlements, and the different colors show different things. I haven't got like a map for what they show and what it relates to, but basically you've got like the snowy areas in white, the deserts in yellow, the cold deserts, so a place where it's cold as opposed to like the Sahara, but is equally doesn't get rain, so won't have vegetation. That's in like a grey. You've got beaches in a yellow, which will actually be more of like a mangrove but with birch trees. Not all of it makes sense yet. And then the idea is that these brown bits are like swamps, and these light brown bits are going to be mountains. But not all of that is there yet. So lots to do. Yeah, but I mean it is biomes, right? But it's biomes in a more continuous way. So like they're not defined as biomes. The colors are defined by like biomes, but the actual underlying is to do with a continuous rain map and continuous. Still can't mine. Oh, that'll be why. So I haven't got it sorted yet to have something that you can see, but so on my screen you've got these 4 like tray at the bottom. If you try if you've got selected an empty hand and you try and dig, you can't dig. If you use one of the items you have to dig, you should be able to dig. That is just, I haven't finished sorting out getting that working yet. Oh, there you go. You placement and then you unplaced. So oh yeah, and also if you try to if you're mining on sand, if you mine on sand you won't ever get to anything but sand. So but if you dig along here to rock, then then you can mine to some other mineral. But yeah, if you want to go back to the top, yeah, that's it's basically clear the cookies for this website because I haven't. There's no easy way of doing it otherwise. And then you start from the beginning. Oh, that's interesting. The shader's not working. So yeah, or you can dig your way out, I guess. But right, for me, back to the code. So my music end. We've got vegetation, and this wasn't working because we weren't passing real through. Did I work out that we weren't passing real through? To whom were we not passing it? Train generation. Oh, we're stuck on the fact that the T height, because we want to pass that through. Got the world, the cell, the height. We don't have T height. Where did T height come from? Okay, so is that just cached then? Should have a trunk, given the height. Real is not defined. Is it still not defined? Yeah, I mean, there shouldn't be a limit. I mean, you'll get to an issue of floating point errors, but in the absence of going down so far that the size of your y coordinate becomes so negative that the difference between, you know, minus two, you know, integer whole number values of your y position, that should be the limit. You shouldn't get any issues up till there. And it shouldn't take long to dig, because I hate spending ages digging. Cannot access treehouse before initialization, so treehouse is here. Where are we trying to access treehouse there? There should be a trunk of tree here in the reference. Cannot access treehouse before. We do treehouse there. Here we go. So treehouse. Property undefined reading y. It can't read the y. Where are we trying to get y on her? Height at trunk T height. 82. Cell.y. Size undefined when doing place tree, because here we're not passing in real and cell, we're just passing in cell. We expected 10 and we got 0 for trunk, and it wasn't. We got air. T height. the sake of this test, I'm going to say that is 6. Okay, that doesn't change anything. Vegetation. Vegetation, we've got height, real, and cell. The real location versus the local location. There it. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, there's still some clipping issues. So it used to be much worse. It has got better. Yeah, it did used to get. It used to be worse. It's yeah, that was one of the things that I've got up on my Kanban board here. I have most of this wall as Kanban. Now, why is the vegetation not working? Trunk of a tree here, and there isn't. Oh, x is 0. X needs to be 1. 1 times 7 is 7, not 0 times 7. Okay, well I'm happy with what we have there. Now, what used to happen is we would return, and that would be set. What I want to happen is not necessarily apply generation rule, but this actually generation rules, apply generation rules, safe set use do, return nothing but do world dot set voxel. Something like gotta solve that. This x, y adjusted. X, Y, and Z, and apply the generation rule. Okay. Oh, we have even more people listening now. There's another person. I'm going to give this a go. I don't know if this will work, and I think actually I need to check that the server's going to point in the right place first. So, where are we going with this? Static. I don't think I can go back. Okay. You know what, I'm going to come up with a better solution in a minute, and for now I'll take that. Although all of the, that's the other thing. So I'm in this muddle of, like, this is the second session of writing tests for the JavaScript that I've done. But the problem is that for the tests you have to have a different structure to what makes sense to have if you're using require for the browser. Which means I need to work out how to get it to be cross-functional. I think that's like Browserify or something. because this then doesn't require the requires. Although they are dot forward ones, maybe that works. You know, just run it. Just run it. Server. Why are you not liking that? Lots of errors. Interesting. Errors in cities, error in train rule generation. Wait, we're actually getting rivers though. Chunk generation. So this dot y. Interesting. Okay, so it doesn't work because cities. So it's not to do with this, so we can like say fine to that. It's not because of that. Oh, I don't think it's because of this either. We're getting 0, or we're getting an error and then an array of 10 things. So we are getting the rivers that go through, but we're also getting issues with that. No. You actually managed it. So you've dug to the next. Yeah, it's like. Yeah, that's that. I guess. I mean, I haven't got many textures at the moment, so please forgive the fact that you've you've dug to the birch biome, but yeah, it does get there. Like it's at the moment we've got this sprite map. Let me get to the where are we? Sources, static. Yeah, graphics. So we've got this incredible sprite map, and at the moment I think what we do is we say I think it's something like this sprite plus I, depending on depending on something, and so like it does loop round. Or we must be on like -1 because it's like, or yeah, it's 17 plus I, so it must be like the lowest level is bedrock, and then currently we're on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you've managed to dig down to 4. So the next one is like, what is that? I think that's trees, like leaves. So if you keep digging, you'll get down to leaves eventually. I love that you've managed to dig that deep. That's wonderful. Yeah, I mean the general idea for the geology is that it's a bit like on Earth, right? So like I'm in London and we've got a clay soil. Now, if you want coal, you might be able to dig to it from London because the clay soil, I mean, this is where my geology is actually really bad, but like I know that if you want to, yeah, the clay I think is a newer soil than the soil you would get up in Yorkshire. So in Yorkshire, it's an older rock underneath you, but it's of the right time period for that brief period in Earth's history where trees existed, but the fungus to decompose them didn't. And so there might be coal underneath London, but just kilometres deep in a way that would just never be worth digging out. And so it's easier to go to Yorkshire, but then that doesn't work if Yorkshire is a hostile country. And likewise, if I guess you want clay, although clay is relatively common, but like if you wanted uranium and Cornwall got its independence, then what are you going to do if it was a world where you couldn't just buy it? So like here, you're going to have, the idea is that the cities then develop around what resources are locally there. So things that are valuable in one city might be not valuable in another because they're more plentiful there in the local area. But all of this is like a long way away in terms of development. Let's see if the rest of it is working, even if the cities is not. Oh, this is such a... Interesting. So I'm at negative. Alright, I'll be right back. I'm going to leave this thing running whilst I'll be right back. So I really need to make something that is a bit of a tutorial or a bit of a demo, a bit of a trailer for this game. And one of the things I want to do is play it whenever I'm having breaks in between streaming. So, I don't know, say I go to the toilet or something. And so what I'm showing you here is the game as it is of the beginning of November 2022. God, where did the last 2 years go? But this has a mixture of terrain that's been generated in the current version, terrain that's been stored from being generated in previous versions, and from those previous versions it's come from what was on the server before, and so people have made things. There is somewhere a okay. So did that work in the end? Oh, we ended up in the ground. 275, so that makes sense. It would be in the ground. Let us. What am I wanting to SQLite user? Oh. No, actually, the server doesn't run. So the currently live version doesn't run off of my computer. It it runs off of a server that I have dedicated to it, which was like £1 a month. So if there's lag on my computer, that's me lagging rather than any external forces. Boom, we have old style terrain generation working. So what do I want to get? So under the I think like if you treat each cube as a meter cube, then it goes down kilometers. Like you will get to a point 8 kilometers down where it should normalize and it'll just be the last thing, so just like coal or something. But until you get to like 8 kilometers down, and like I had a friend who in a previous version he went for a walk in the game and he managed to walk 8 kilometers, but it took him like 40 minutes to walk 8 kilometers. So if you're digging down, that's going to be like longer than walking. But please, by all means, like if you fancy trying to find the floor. Yeah, I mean, like, what's the crust? 12 kilometers deep, something like that. So, you know, I don't think it's not unrealistic to have it that deep and then just have magma all the way down. The difference is that we're chunking in Y. So, like, Minecraft chunks in X and Z. So you can walk left as far as you want and right as far as you want forwards. But you can only dig so far and you can only build up so far. Whereas in here, there's no limit at 8 kilometers. Like 8 kilometers is just the geology is only generated over that. It still exists infinitely upwards and infinitely downwards. So there's no modeling of space. There's some funny things that the sky does when you go up. Oh, that's interesting. I will make a note of that. I can't believe you've managed to get 2,000 down already. so that seems... Oh, there was something going to be odd with the trees, and oh, there is something odd with the trees. Wait, how did I not notice that when I was in the forest? What is going on here? Oh, I have set the value... to be... Okay, that's interesting. So the trees are messed up. Apart from that, I think the edit worked. Vegetation... We have height pass through height of the trees. And place tree. Okay, let's see if that fixes the issue. Yeah, you mentioned the issue of not being able to move initially. I wonder how, because I've been looking at the logs and like quite a few people have like got a log where they've been playing, they've had it open for more than a minute, but they haven't moved. And I wonder if it's people who, like yourself, had that kind of issue with I'm not sure what's going on with these trees. That one looks kind of... Oh no. I think that's me not using real... Let's create a really flat world. Ah, I thought we'd get down to the tree layer next. Nice one. Interesting. I wonder if you get just getting errors like oh yeah. Very peculiar. Tell me if you fall back into the world. Back on stone. It's just you found a cave. I haven't programmed caves in it, but you found one. What is going on? Why? We got like 2, a gap, and 2. Is that one generated properly? About 1. Yeah, massively. It's you just put 42 in the computer and you end up with a full generation of everything. the issue is in where we apply the rule. Yep, yep, it will be saved. So every time you edit a chunk, it gets saved. Nice. Minus 4,000. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think so. You accelerate at 9.8 meters per second until you hit 10 meters a second, and then that's the terminal velocity of the game. But I think, depending on your computer, 10 meters a second might not be able to load the chunks quickly enough to put them in front of you, and if there isn't a chunk there, you can continue to fall. Which I think is what happened in the first place to get you stuck. So it might be the case that if you jumped in your hole, you wouldn't actually be able to get to the bottom. You'd just, I don't really know. I mean, the hole would be there. Yeah. Whether you'd be able to visit the bottom successfully, I don't know. But you could definitely jump in it. I ended up with some blooming tall trees here. Oh, what's going on? At least the leaves look like they're in the right place again. Oh my goodness, there's a cactus over there as well. That's one tall cactus. Is he on top. It's on top of the thing. Right. We'll put down. Let's put this down. And I'll place that, and then dig. Can't dig with an empty hand. Let's go and investigate the super tall cactus. Press the wrong one. That one. Wow. I'm glad I got this on camera. It's actually not letting you dig through bedrock. That's interesting. So if the cell Y and that is where we're going wrong, that needs to be the real Y. Oh, that's interesting. We've now just got tree stumps. Also not checking. The height is not 5. Oh, the diamond! You've got down to diamonds. Oh man, how deep are you there? 4.5 kilometers down. Damn. Oh, that's great. That was the other question I had, which was inside the tree. Yes, we do. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I see the issue. I think you're right in that the issue with how it was coming out was caused by clicking on it twice before it's disappeared. It's an interesting bug. I have noted it down. But yeah. Well, that's interesting. What am I pressing there that's causing that? So in place tree. Why do we not I think if I pull this one out, what is this one saying? This is not too low. So that should fix something about trees. A legal return statement. Still doesn't like returning cactus because that. I normally have my editor telling me these errors, but I haven't got it set up properly. Okay, so inside a tree, and because I've edited that, it won't change. But if I go to a new tree that I haven't changed, it's leaves after the branch. Okay, so that's kind of what I wanted. I'm not happy with that. And then I need to fix the cactus, so it's using real Y instead. That'll fix our super tall cactus. And then yeah, a lot of changes here. That makes sense, that makes sense. Lock file version 2, what have we added? Don't know what that means. Train generation moved to new system. We'll branch find river. Oh, I never did the whole title. What does it say that I'm trying to do? Hologram. But that's not what I'm trying to do. Oh well. Let's continue to try and find the river. I'm really happy with how those terrain generation changes have turned out. So, given that, let's go to the city. And import it from there instead. Interesting that we're no longer importing structure. I can't remember why I commented that out. Then we want to test city. Something like that. It's the kind of test we want to run. We're going to need something like that to run it. They should be moved to an enum. Okay, we do want assert. This time we want city and river from city. Describe city. I'll just remind myself of what the structure should be for these things. Maybe we should be doing kilometer map instead. Interesting, that's why. Okay, we're importing whether it's ocean or land. So, the issue that city had and this we want to have a shared sort of structure, except this is going to be kilo map. From kilometer map. So I think getting the structures works. I think that's something that is functional. But I think the issue is with city. So city gets given the kilo map in the eye. Let's go back to the error. No, we can't go back to the error because we got rid of it. Structure dot get blocks. Get blocks we return null. For a river we don't. For a river, when we say get blocks, if y is less than 5 we return 13, otherwise we return 0. And that's for a river that's that wide. And river z is this y of x, and this dot y is a function based on the coordinates. I seem to not actually say this dot let y, not this dot y. Okay, track, there we go. Y is, oh no, y is not defined. Where do we use y? Oh, we use y in, which makes sense as to why. Do let y, but then this dot y equals y. Interesting. Okay, so then we've got, we return these, and then in the generation rule we should be able to return structure's opinion. I like that. Please tell me this gets us rivers. Okay, we've got little rivers on the right. Oh. Oh yeah, rivers. There we go. Rivers. Yeah. We got all of the rivers. So much river I've fallen into the water. Okay, so performance-wise this is messed up because everything's a river here, and yeah, so it's going to be messed up. But I am super happy with that. Right, so if we make the rivers a bit thinner, so rather than a kilometre wide, they're like, I don't know, 16. Yeah, then we're going to want to jump onto land. Make sure that we're not underground when we regenerate. Interesting. Oh, we've ended up underground anyway. Dig our way out. There we go. Okay, so let's find a river. That's not a river. It just looks like a river because we've edited it. So it's like lots of rivers are relevant, but none of them are there. So performance issues from having added the rivers, but come on, I want to find it again. Where are you? Oh, that's interesting. What have we got? I wonder if the underground is working based on cell Y. Yes, it is. A real Y. 3X, real Z, real Y. Okay. Well, that's not gonna change where the river is. So now I've got to work out where the river is. Oh man. You got. Oh, no, that's not equivalent to 17 kilometers down. That's just. Thank you on the congratulations on the rivers. I'm so happy with the rivers. I haven't found. Obviously, when they're 1,000 kilometers, when they're 1,000 meters wide, they're quite easy to find. When they're 16 meters wide, they're a bit harder. Especially when it takes this long for the game to generate a new chunk. Right, I need to make this more efficient. Are we checking the rivers for every square? Yeah, we are. Okay, so the structure map. The result of the structure search should only be run for once. But I don't think it's the getting structure because, oh, and if they all have no opinion, what we should be able to do is, if you refresh your game, do you get some of the blocks back or not at all? Because I'd imagine you go back no more than 30 seconds. It should be less than that, actually. I did up underground again. Oh, I didn't tell me I'm really far underground. Oh, let's just change it in the debugging console. Oh, I can't believe. Yeah, maybe. Why only 500? Maybe it was. Oh, I don't know. I don't know why it'd be so few. I'm thinking maybe the structure should have. I didn't say it didn't go deeper than 8 kilometers. I said it becomes homogeneous. It's like it doesn't create interestingly new things after 8 kilometers. But my goodness, the fact that you've got to 8 kilometers, wow! Like, congrats on that. And thank you for testing out the game to that depth, both metaphorically and literally. How have we ended up with so many rivers? When we get the structures of real, get structures of a chunk. Return the structure map. So there's a few of them. Okay, so that's anything within 1,000 kilometer radius. And the river. But the gathering of that's quite quick. The bedrock. What do we say? Let me have a look at the source again. Have you've gone through diamond? I take it. Yeah, you got diamond. Then you went to. Did you get to coal? You said you got back to stone. Bedrock should be after coal. It's not literal bedrock. Like, it's not. It's a bedrock style texture. It's not actually like something you can't dig through. You can. I just don't think there's nothing to go below that. Like, for example, on this map, you won't end up at this like beehive texture. Instead, it'll only get down to this texture. If you go exploring, you should be able to find places where they've got like the yellow stuff, because it goes much higher than stone and birch tree, but yeah, it doesn't go any lower than you've gone. I didn't expect anybody really to spend the time going that low, but yeah, thank you. I mean, I think the next point is going to be like a floating point error, and I think that comes at like 2 million, which will be what, 2,000 kilometers deep. a bit further than 8 kilometers. Yeah. Yeah, 2,000 kilometers. I think that's where it is. It might be further actually. Let me think. It's a 32-bit float. 32-bit float position. Actually, let's just do JavaScript number position. JavaScript number precision. So it's a 52-bit Mantissa. So it's 52 to the power 52, and then times 2 to the power 2 to the power 50. What did I say the other one was? 11. Tell me undefined just because you can't do it, Google. Oh, yeah. So this is how many. Yeah, this is how many meters. This is how many meters down it should be able to go before you get errors. Substantially further than 2,000. I'm trying to think what the error would be at that point. So let's put that in meters. Let's see what it is in light years. Meters. Just a bit deeper. Oh yeah, no. This is yeah. You can dig. This calculation must be wrong. I don't. 2 to the 52, 2 to the 2 to the 11. You're raising. I'm glad this didn't come up in an interview. 1 plus mantissa times 2 to the exponent. The exponent is 11 bits, so 2 to the 11. And the mantissa is 52 bits. Oh, but that's representing a number between 0 and 1, so that has to be yeah, it was still a stupidly big number, right? No, wait, that's as big as we can go. That's the biggest of this number, but that doesn't matter because if we can't get the... That's more reasonable. Yeah, it must be... This is the man... Although, you're going to get issues before... You're probably going to get a bit issues before then, but... Yeah, let's go with that. I think half a light year, 6 light months. That's how far down you can go. You're only allowed to go 10 meters a second though. If you're free falling. So, yeah. But unfortunately, for now at least, that's as far as you can go in the horizontal as well. And that's annoying because the way that cities are generated is that they have a power law distribution in their population. So that means that there is the probability of the population being like I don't know, 10 people is 10 times the probability of there being 100 people, which is 10 times the probability of there being 1,000 people, and so on. So there is actually like a probability of any number of people in a city. So if the world is large enough, and half a light year is definitely not large enough, then you would see a city with any size in the game. Which is what I want eventually. But I think for now, half a light year. Yeah, fine. What was the way that I was going to do it? If I did the coordinates, so I have the coordinates, you've got the blocks, which are 1 meter, the chunks, which are 16 meters, and the kilometers, which in this game are 2 to the 10 blocks, 1,024 meters. And then if I did that, that only gets you 10 times 10 times the distance, so 5 light years. What's that a distance to? That gets you to the nearest star, actually, so that's pretty reasonable. Imagine a surface area that spans from the sun to the nearest star in a square. A pretty undiscoverable world. You wouldn't have to worry about resources running out, or like space at all. Yeah. Anyway, back on with the game. So how did I have rivers working before? I think it must be that... How are we generating the positions of these? Generation rule, city. So we're dividing it by... That's the river. City, kilo map, city size is not -1. Then the result nearest XZ river. Okay, so does the kilometer map create a city? Ten times the floor of this divided by 10. And then we go 30 in all directions and create those. This is the same one, but can't all cross within the kilometer. Instead of the kilo map, let's pass in structures. Don't know if this will help much. And then here, structures is stopped. Position X. Do I need to do that, or can I from here have this? If you want to get back to the service, I think the best way of doing that is clearing the cookies. Just delete the cookies for Manic Voxels and you'll get a new user and you'll go back to y equals 50, x equals 0, y equals 0. That's your best bet. Why don't I use a game engine? That's I don't know, like what. So a lot of the game engines export to web, but they don't. They bring like just to get the smallest game takes megabytes of boilerplate for them. And in a way I am using a game engine because I'm using 3.js, which is, although not a game engine, it does a lot of heavy lifting on the graphics. And then things like terrain generation, I always wanted that to be very personal in terms of that's something that I wanted to really get into the fundamentals of, to be able to build out geology, to be able to build out things like that. There also, I don't think there's a game engine that has done the so I've never really understood what .NET meant in terms of like, it seems to just be Microsoft stuff, because it's not like VB.NET. I used to code in VB.NET, but that's not what .NET in general means, or at least my understanding is that that's not what it means. But .NET isn't the web, right? So you can't, you'd have to build it for Windows and people would have to download it. And one of the things I really wanted was people just go to the website and you're playing, like no download required, you just go and you're playing. I even got it working on like the Quest through the Oculus Quest 2 through the browser. And it's like, that's that cross device functionality. Yeah, but I don't want the client side to be downloaded. Like, if it's, I want it to be in the browser. And so, yeah, so I don't think Unity's in C++. And I think you can, I don't know if you can compile it down. I don't know. I haven't found what I'm looking for in terms of a game engine for web, because that's one of the core things that I want in this game is like, oh, C#, not C++. I knew it was one of the C variants. What I wanted was like, I want to be able to just go to manicvoxels.com, and like one of the places I play it is I play it on my Chromebook, and you can't play, as far as I'm aware, Unity games on a Chromebook unless you like change the OS. Yeah, well, you've got to make choices, right? So one of the things that I've done is I've created a greedy meshing custom thing, and what that does is so I actually wrote a blog post on this with a really nice GIF that I made here. Like, so you've got this 16 by 16 chunk, and the texturing can be really easy if each square is a face, but obviously that's a lot of vertices and a lot of faces, and that creates a lot of work for the computer. But what you can do is, because we know if we've got a face where there might be different blocks but the whole face is just one thing, if we could produce the textures to map to that one face, which is a rectangle, then we've massively reduced the number of vertices, because you see on the one that it's on the GIF at the moment is like, rather than having, what is that, like 8 by 4 faces, we've got one. But then you end up with like a really difficult challenge of how do you not get it to look so that it's stretched. I have a great picture. I don't know if I don't think I'm gonna be able to find it on here. It's not in there, is it? Back up. Yeah, here it is. So this is what the greedy meshing looks like once you've done it. I'm from England, from in the southeast. Grew up in Kent. Now work and live in London. But yeah, so then you need to do a complex shader thing to be able to get the texturing information so that they're not stretched to whatever size thing it is. So I had to do that anyway, because that's not done in, it's just not done for you in game engines unless they're like voxel game engines, and maybe it's done for you, maybe it's not done for you. But I wanted to get into the shadering side of things for it anyway. I write shaders now and again, and not great ones, but if I look for, this is another cool one that I made. This ocean shader, which I can't really take too much credit for because a lot of it is sort of composed from other people, but yeah, so this is like path tracing in real time, and I think it looks pretty realistic. But it's still not great. Like, there's a lot. Water CGI, it's difficult. But the clouds, they just look beautiful. Yeah, anyway, so I'm studying some stuff to try and make this look better, because these waves, they just don't look. One thing that I want, it doesn't have splashes, no. It's so this one is just a sum of different sine waves with some fractional Brownian motion on top, with some other elements to it. But I did build one. I haven't published actually on the blog the water shader that I made. I don't know where that's, the water like simulator that I made. But yeah, I really want to be able to code and have this beautiful sunset and ocean view on a VR headset, because, well, I mean, I'd love it anyway. I mean, I built the screen that I'm editing on now as part of my coding on the beach. Like, I would love to just code on the beach, and I built this thing where it has like a super high brightness, so it has a 80-watt LED in the background, and yeah, it's just insane brightness. Yeah. Anyway, that and more documented on my website. I have a Raspberry Pi. That is not a Raspberry Pi. Why are there so many rivers and yet none? This is where I should be. Get yeah, this is interesting. So there shouldn't be in this kilometre that many rivers. Yeah. I'll be back in a bit. So I really need to make something that is a bit of a tutorial or a bit of a demo, a bit of a trailer for this game. And one of the things I want to do is play it whenever I'm having breaks in between streaming. So, I don't know, say I go to the toilet or something. And so what I'm showing you here is the game as it is of the beginning of November 2022. God, where did the last 2 years go? But this has a mixture of terrain that's been generated in the current version, terrain that's been stored from being generated in previous versions, and yeah, so the number of blocks you have is not stored in the cookies. The number of blocks is stored as a local variable in JavaScript, and that is then synchronized with your profile on the server. However, at the moment, if you went in and duplicated the requests to produce blocks, you could add to your block count, but you'd have to do that one request at a time. So yeah, you could do that. Yeah, you could break the game in that way. I have some techniques that I'm thinking about that will stop that from being broken. But for now, that is a flaw. So the rivers. I think you could set your position to being half a light year away, for the time being. I mean, I will. I mean, that one's an easy one to fix because you just put speed limits. You say, right, well, you're not allowed to travel faster than X amount. So if the delta in your distance is too high, then I'm not going to allow that. Okay, so we are here, but we're not on the coast, so This needs to be... To set it, spawn without traveling. So your spawn, so your movement is up. Your position's updated every 30 seconds as part of the 30-second update, which updates some other things as well. If you were to change that update and make it half a light year away and then refresh, then that update would be rejected, and so you would remain where you were 30 seconds prior to trying to update it, because when you move you are sending your position every 30 seconds. So if you've moved further in 30 seconds than you should be able to, then that's where it'll catch you. It's where the policeman will give you a speeding fine. No, fallen too far. Straight jump to where we know there to be a river. Why, when we first got that, were there so many rivers and now there aren't? Oh, that's interesting. Those are still there. No, cookies aren't encrypted. It's just a session. So like you get a random code. Hmm. Hmm. We're supposed to update the kilo map with communication. Hmm. Hmm. For now, reset cookies because there's no other way of getting around that. Yeah, sorry. Uh, there's another version, another branch that I haven't pushed, which has the composition on it. So that's where you're going to be able to make things out of what you have. And in that version, you can pick up grass with your hands. So if you try and mine a grass block rather than getting the grass block, you get grass and leave behind a dirt block. And then if you try and do the same on a dirt block, you get a stone and leave behind a stoneless dirt block. And then you can use that stone to try and get a branch off, and then you've got a branch. Or if you try and get a branch with your hand, you'll get leaves rather than a branch. And if you have a branch and a stone, you can then try and make a stone axe, which you can then, I don't know, do stuff with. Yeah, so you've got some kind of like progression in that way. No silly wood axes, mind you. Yeah. Why is this? Why have the rivers gone again? I thought they were there and now they're gone again. Do we not update the cities somewhere here? Let's try putting the structures back in. And then have this back to kilo map. And then this is kilo map. And this is once again not time. Thanks. Yeah, fingers crossed on the rivers. We'll get there. But not from that. How do we end up with water everywhere? What's the width of the rivers at the moment? Is this going to work? Please give me rivers. Still no rivers. Interesting. So if I go this way, oh interesting, that's the edge of the river. So this must be the edge of the 1,000 square. It is, there we go. So on this side it takes ages because we've got all of the rivers. On the other side it's quick because we don't have to deal with the rivers. Or is it just because that's what got edited? Where's the... Okay, so let's try. That is with it this way round, and let's try with the rivers being a little shorter. Hmm. Well, I think I made some good progress tonight, but I am going to call it. It's 9 o'clock. Good night.